Any reason to move away from the BaRRaCCuDDa?
Probably, the thing about BaRRaCCuDDa is that it's not something that you can really look to ban out.
Exactly.
In a LAN environment, maybe, but I don't feel as though the BaRRaCCuDDa itself posed that much of a threat to Luminosity as much as it was just the draft that he got to play it into.
I mean, BaRRaCCuDDa has... Hypercarry, I think, has become a overused term. In actuality, few gods are hypercarries. BaRRaCCuDDa is one of those gods that just goes off. Not going to be banned out. Cucullin and Ratatasker banned out, as is Raijin. Quick ban phase here. SpaceStation also taking care of Serket as well. Why the heavy attention to Serket this LAN?
Serket has just been such an issue amongst players. The same thing for Ratatasker, where they're kind of the two gods. Anytime you have a god that can deal true damage, you're usually going to start seeing that get abused to a certain extent with defensive items. The problem is you can build incredibly tanky on Serket with that on Kile, with the Mystical Mail, and you're still going to be dealing a ton of damage, as well as just the general control that she can provide.
I like this adaptation from Game 1 from SpaceStation. There was second pick at Game 1, and they let Ratatasker through, elected to ban out Serket. Instead, they ban out both of them. Yes, they let through the AMC over to LG, but not dealing with Mask on either Serket or Ratatasker is such a huge boost to their draft.
Well, first overall pick, Muzen Cobb. Definitely a character that can be punished. In fact, we watched it be punished last time around. Solon Hu Yi, selected by SpaceStation Gaming.
This isn't the same sort of implications that we saw, though, when Luminosity pulled out that AMC Hu Yi. And I say that because even though it is still technically that double hunter composition, in a way, it's Sol, and she's a mage at the very least, which means that they're not going to have to worry as much about trying to put that magical damage elsewhere. I think that was another factor that Luminosity was really missing in their last draft. It didn't feel as though there was any mage burst or mage control actually coming out from that comp.
Osiris will round out the draft of the first half for SpaceStation Gaming. Osiris has been banned a number of times, not yet in this series, however. It was the first series that we saw a ton of Osiris bannings. These two teams seem to be content with letting him through.
I mean, we saw this matchup in the first game, and well, ScaryD managed to get himself soloed by Aquarius on that Hercules. And it shouldn't be a Hercules. It shouldn't be a matchup that Hercules can win, but Aquarius managed to find that push and find the pressure.
And again, that's the beauty of Smite here. I think that there are character matchups, right? But unlike rock, paper, scissors, there is well, actual skill involved. And frankly, I think that Aquarius outclasses ScaryD in that solo lane when it comes, absolutely when it comes to the 1v1. In the team fight, I think it becomes a little bit closer. But Aquarius being able to just outclass ScaryD is absolutely a key component to what allowed LG to win game number 1.
And considering what Luminosity is drafted for, there it is.
Yeah,
this I don't mind. I don't mind them banning it in the 3rd and 4th because that's kind of more flexibility permitted as to what you want to. Yeah. This is more of your target ban area in the 3rd and 4th bans. And anything that was maybe an issue in the game before, if the enemy team isn't going for it, don't let them have it again. And again, BaRRaCCuDDa would have been great, I think, against what LG has already pulled out.
Right, like I said, AMC being picked in the first phases of the draft these days, you understand what characters can take care of him and what characters can't. BaRRaCCuDDa is one of them. And also, BaRRaCCuDDa is just hard to contain. Like, he really is just hard to contain. We don't see him played much. Honestly, I'll ask why after I address the fact that Alpha Jackal just literally lifted his hands up and went yes at the Fafnir ban.
Sol, Hu Yi, Osiris, all basic attack based, and Jigz has played nothing but Fafnir in these past 2 games. He's finally going to be playing something different.
Yeah.
How comfortable is he on something else?
Honestly, pretty comfortable. But taking the Fafnir out of the hands of a guy who has 3 basic attackers, I'm with you. Yes, please. Like I said, the last matchup was the advertisement for Witchblade. This is still the same conversation. Get Fafnir the hell out of here. Option over to SpaceStation Gaming. They're in the bank time, and they're looking for either a support or a solo jungle, depending on where you're putting Osiris.
Yeah, and that last statement also shot at Jigz. Interesting, his Fafnir is so much better than the rest of his gods.
No, it's fine because we understand since you have Kalis on your team, so you get a little bit concerned sometimes when you see the Fafnir banned away. So
it's so traumatic.
No, but in all seriousness, though, Jigz is definitely a player who's going to be able to find another god out of his assortment of supports. It really is just a pretty wide variety. He feels confident, I think, on pretty much every single one of them.
Woof. Thor coming out here for SpaceStation Gaming. I can confidently say that I think that's going to be in the hands of Homiefe. And coming off of the game he just had on the BaRRaCCuDDa, you feed the hot hands. Shouts to the bananas in the background. Thor in the hands of Homiefe, scary.
Thor and Homiefe, okay, Thor in general, when it comes to junglers, it's always in those situations where teams really want to get ahead, and those junglers that we know has a Thor in their god pool, that you always see them whip it out. Same story for adapting. I mean, even Mass has pulled it out from time to time. Andy way back in the day, but that's been a while since he's had to touch the jungle reins. But I think that Thor and Homiefe is still something that he can certainly carry on, as well as just have that team fighting utility that you want to look for.
And it's a good pick into the Morrigan as well, because the Morrigan wants to level up her second ability. I can't remember the... I can't remember the name of the ability now. I'm getting so confused. But Thor will level up his Tectonic Rift, which is his second ability. So you're just going to be stuck there with a massive stun, but not too much damage on the follow-up.
I like that. Yeah, that's actually a really important note. Because I always go, when it comes to the Morrigan, I always think about the ultimate, right? The Thor's going to come crashing down and then stun you for 12 seconds with his really dope Tectonic Rift and tickle you with the Berserker Barrage. Like, big deal.
I'm expecting the Morrigan to be making those Ravana transformations, or maybe even the Osiris transformations. That double dive frontlining composition and never really knowing which direction to expect it from, I think, might be the attacking point for Luminosity. There is a lot of playroom that they have within that draft. Plenty of frontline, plenty of damage, all around, very solid composition.
Right now, our series tied 1-1. It is a best of 5. Winner gets their trip to hi-rez Expo. Loser continues on to the group stages. One word, Alpha, who wins?
SpaceStation.
Taco.
I'm actually liking LG for this one.
That's a whole bunch of words. We're split here on the desk, but the casters are standing by. It's John Finch, and it's Anatoly.
Appreciate you there, Tom. We got some exciting picks for you here as we go into Game 3, SpaceStation versus LG. A lot of them here, but I know you were talking to me a little bit about that Xing Chen pick. What was going on with that one?
Well, at first I was surprised because there was no support pick right after the secondary ban phase from SpaceStation. They elected to pick the Thor right off the bat here for Homiefe, right? I thought it was going to be a clear-cut Ganesha, right? With that Fafnir band away from Jigz, Ganesha would be a sure guaranteed answer, especially with such an aggressive combination of hunters there. But instead, picking the Thor, applying the global pressure for him, and with the Xing Chen, I think what they're really trying to do is shut down some of the in-hand damage that SpaceStation can really do. And knowing JeffHindla, he's very comfortable with this god. He knows how to peel for his backline. He's going to be waiting for that right opportunity to knock people up and root them in place.
And that's what he'll be able to do for him as we see 1-1 Luminosity going up against SpaceStation for Game 3. As Tom said, this is who gets to go to HRX here, Toly. So this is a big game, and when you're in a big game, get Baskin on someone big like Morrigan.
That's right. The way he played it in the first game was pretty good. Despite getting shut down early, having a few more deaths than he probably would have liked, he still managed to come back in the late game using that stealth form very effectively, catching people by surprise. But this time around, he needs to kind of switch it up, making sure he doesn't fall too far behind early on.
And this was a pick and ban phase where SpaceStation were able to last pick Ganesha, I believe, at that very last slot. So that's pretty crazy that all the way down it was able to go. But that's because in these best of 5s here, Toly, they developed their own meta. We saw BaRRaCCuDDa ban. We saw Nike ban this game.
That's very true. The Baka ban was it was very annoying for them in the second game there, simply because there was such an aggressive composition in the second game between the Bracken, between the Nike.
They're lurking here, though, Toly. Look at Scary and Homiefe. They remember trying to look to catch Baskin, and that's what they do. Horrific Emblem comes out, and first blood goes to Homiefe, and they might even get second blood on BaRRaCCuDDa. Double kill.
This is the start you want here from SpaceStation Gaming, giving not only first blood, but a second kill on top for your jungler. Gonna be able to invade some of the speed buffs here, and this is really great start here. Not only going for the speed, but going for the red buff.
And Game 3 is when you do something like that. When you've gotten into a little tiny bit of a groove in this 5-game set, well, we'll do something different and lurk around that wall and gank mid lane.
This is a one-and-done strategy. SpaceStation are not going to do this in the next game or maybe a fifth if for whatever reason it's tied 2-2 here. But it's not a bad idea to kind of go for this strat because even if you don't necessarily get the kills, if LG play a little bit more back, now you're going to be able to still steal away some of the buffs.
And that's what they do. It's so important at this point in the game to back them off. They've already got a 1,000 gold lead, and we're only a minute and a half into the game. That's because of how much farm that they weren't able to get. I mean, Baskin and BaRRaCCuDDa had to back, or not just back, but they were dead.
Yeah, and Mask applying a lot of damage onto Homiefe. Now, despite getting those 2 kills, farming in the lane and the buff camps are more valuable this early on. That's why Mask has this experience advantage. He's able to hit level 4 as Homiefe hits level 3, so he's able to outbox him if they have an encounter in the jungle.
Now that SpaceStation have the pressure, we're going to need to see them continue to use that across the map here totally. And Homiefe seems like the guy to do it.
Yes, and not only did the strategy work out because of the positioning, but their relic selection as well. Having Sprint for Jigz, having this horrific emblem for SpaceStation, not to mention he has a slow in his kit as well, made it for an easier time to get that first blood.
Once again, a good pull by Aquarius pushes SpaceStation back into trouble and minions. SpaceStation, though, is tanky for the moment, trying to get away from Mask, who's just getting those in-hands in and making life hard on the Lord of the Afterlife.
He's just not worried. He's fully stacked on his passive, going in ethereal form, 16% damage mitigation there. He's just walking casually back to his tower. Even sitting at level 4 without any defensive items, he's just able to survive there. In the duel lane, though, Zapman with a nice little comfortable 2-level lead.
Yeah, that's rough for BaRRaCCuDDa. Zapman already has his ult. You can't come forward. Actually gets the max range stun. Dharmic Pillars come out, and now comes the Sunbreaker from Zapman. BaRRaCCuDDa, where can you go? This is just the pressure from that early game gank.
Having to beats away from Dharmic Pillar. Hold that thought, though, in the soul lane.
Scary
the boulder!
SpaceStation falls there to math. That's what Luminosity needed. And totally they do get something a little bit back as they make SpaceStation fall over here, but it feels like it's on the wrong side of the map.
Yeah, that's very true. I was surprised that in game number 2, Luminosity strayed away from that Hercules, considering how successful it was for them in that first game. But going for that double hunter between AMC and the Ho-Yi, they needed to kind of shift their damage, so applying that magical damage in the solo lane. But going back to the duel lane action, Zapman had to use the beads to walk away from Dharmic Pillars, making sure he wasn't going to get slowed. But the positioning of the ultimate from Zap, there was nowhere for BaRRaCCuDDa to go to avoid the slows. He had to go back into SpaceStation Gaming, a very easy kill opportunity for Zap.
And now Homiefe and Zapman are the ones with the kills for SpaceStation Gaming early on. And if I'm on SpaceStation, I don't know who I'd want to have those kills more, to be giving them a lead against their direct opponents. BaRRaCCuDDa still not quite level 5 yet, as he's 0-2-0. He's had a rough time this start.
But still, on the flip side, though, at least the jungler out of LG is having a good time. Zapman forced to retreat there. The red buff still going to get confirmed here for LG as BaRRaCCuDDa picks it up. Mask is able to kind of establish himself a comfortable XP per minute lead over Homiefe despite getting those 2 kills, and that's something that LG are probably going to ride off of just to allow Mask to apply that pressure on the backline and specifically onto Andinster in the mid.
They did get a good trade there, though. Zapman had to use his beads. You can see him on cooldown down there, so that is a relic that he's not going to be without. Now, whether or not LG are able to get anything out of that's a different story.
And with the buffs respawning on the right-hand side, LG don't want to force anything quite yet. They're just going to clear out this wave and back on out. Being down 2 kills, not the end of the world. It's not even the 5-minute mark yet, but SpaceStation need to find ways to continue this pressure here. They might start waiting, though, once Homiefe gets at the right angle, trying to use that Thor global.
And that's what we're looking for the pressure. I believe Homiefe with that semi-global Thor ultimate is going to be one that can have a big impact for him as they continue to fight over those oracles there at the left-hand side. But they've got a lot of options about where on the map they want to try and move and where they want to try and slow down Luminosity. But it doesn't matter where. They can't let up, though, totally. They got to keep pushing that early game lead.
Stealing away the speed buff there. Mask just can't keep the mobility going with Homiefe. It's something that's going to be so impactful for him to just ping-pong all across the map. Not only does he have that global pressure, but now he has the speed buff on top of this. And if you're on the side of Mask, you got to think to yourself, like, all right, how am I going to get the farm here? How am I going to apply the pressure? But so far, all Mask has been doing is sharing waves with Aquarius.
And Aquarius is still actually a little bit ahead of SpaceStation, and you talked about it earlier. Why would they go with an Hercules pick when he worked on it so well? Well, they had to fit that comp. But now, Aquarius is back on the Hercules that we've seen be so dominant today. So as long as he's still having a good game, there's no way I want to count LG out.
Oh, I don't think SpaceStation are done with BaRRaCCuDDa yet, though. He's going to be forced to retreat away. Even Homiefe committing into that ultimate. It was a great rotation from Jeff, making sure that he used that sprint, keeping BaRRaCCuDDa's bead still active.
Yeah, BaRRaCCuDDa didn't give up any key cooldowns there. As you said, JeffHindla in particular was able to get him out of there like with that sprint. So BaRRaCCuDDa's still going to be okay over there in the duel lane in the 1v1, except for that level lead.
And SpaceStation are feeling very confident trying to abuse BaRRa playing this AMC, having no natural escape. It's not a bad idea to focus the attention here, jumping onto him with the knockup, getting the stun off as well. Now it's going to be JeffHindla trying to save his Hunter, but Homiefe is right there.
And now the Dharmic Pillars have JeffHindla trapped, and he's going to be falling as well. 2 quick kills from SpaceStation thanks to the rotation from Homiefe and Jigz. And BaRRa ends up using the beats there, I guess, at the very end.
Oh, wow. Starting the Gulf here. Andinster took a lot of damage, though, when Mask is right around the corner to potentially dive this if he wanted to. Now it's going to be Zapman forced to run it. Mask blinks in.
And then they lock him down. Supernova comes over the top. Sorry, Mask, that one was not for you. Baskin actually turns into the Ravana and looks for a little bit more aggression with that changeling, but it's not enough.
Hello?
Actually, he does
Zap?
get Zapman, who walks back in.
Zap, what are you doing? You just caught the hands from Baskin. Where would you go? But the sprint allowed Zapman to run away, but he felt confident that he could go back in there.
He did indeed catch the hands totally. Aquarius actually catch a little bit of the hands over here in solo lane. Aquarius actually over here getting soloed by Scary D.
Revenge for Scary D after Aquarius was the one that soloed him in game number 1 here. Now Scary D is able to retreat very safely with Homiefe right around the corner. Baskin without an ultimate can't really apply the pressure onto Scary D. He can't shift his attention onto maybe the Thor if he wanted to. That's an option that Baskin can explore later down the game.
And that fight for them, to go back to the one that happened on the duo lane side, it went so well for them. Mask goes in aggressively, and then excellent play from Jigz to lock him down and set up the supernova from Andinster. The fight goes heavily in their favor, and they give a little bit back there to Baskin, but they are still 3K up right now over LG.
I think it was too ambitious for SpaceStation to start the Gold Fury after those 2 kills in the dueling.
Yeah.
Andinster taking about 75% of his health just kind of allowed Mask to get in there anytime he wanted, because he had 2 prime targets. He had both Andinster, that was 25% health, and then Zapman, that was just sitting at around 50% health.
Dharmic Pillars coming out there from Jigz, but no real opportunity for follow-up for the rest of SpaceStation Gaming. So instead, Luminosity kind of just walk away.
Look at all these wards from SpaceStation around the duel lane. Now, granted, they are regular wards, but they're enough deep in the jungle of LG to spot out any rotation from Mask. So as long as they don't see Mask on the left side of the map or visible on the minimap, that's their go-ahead green light to try to apply pressure onto BaRRaCCuDDa. This meta has shifted, like you were talking about, how all these hunters have been left alone farming previously, but not this game. All eyes on BaRRaCCuDDa.
And that has clearly been the call. 0-3-0. There's been pressure over there for him almost non-stop, it's felt like. So he's not too far behind Zapman, really, about a level and a half or so behind him. In that net worth chart, though, where we can see it's a little bit further down, he's pretty much almost at the bottom, about 1,000 gold or so behind him. So that's what's hurting a little bit more, is that net is the actual gold. But as far as experience, he's kind of hanging with him.
He's still on the same pace. He's not going to hit level 12 at the same timing as Zap, but he's still going to be able to apply those Devil Glove stacks inside the mid lane. Though Mask blinking in, almost eliminating Andinster. He could have maybe even looked to dive and wait for the disapparate with that ultimate.
Instead, choosing to back off, but just happy to force Andinster to back. Andinster actually still choosing, though, to stick around. So aggression there from Mast. He does give up the blink without getting a kill, but at least they're able to come over here and get these fire elementals on the solo side.
Into the push, onto Scary D. Around the corner is Baskin. He's trying to get the stun off. Will do so successfully. The root not on the mark for Mast, but Scary D pushing the panic button a little bit.
But rinse and repeat over here with BaRRaCCuDDa already having to use the beads to try and get away from the root knockup. But this time, JeffHindla's here. He goes up with that pancake flip to try and slow down Zapman. But Homiefe was up in the air, and he takes down BaRRaCCuDDa.
Able to find one. Now Andinster making the rotation, trying to find a response here. JeffHindla's trying to run away, trying to get saved by Mask, jumping in the back line. He's trying to do the damage onto Zap. 1 for 2 thus far. LG going to still continue the chase, though.
Homiefe actually just walking forward into Baskin aggressively. Baskin using his ultimate to turn into Mask, trying to make it a little bit harder to kill, using that overhead kick to get away, and he does ult back out.
Has to use the beats to be able to use that Mystic Rush to cut the distance. A great rotation from Homiefe. A 2 for 1 at the end of the day. Baskin almost dying, making that a 3 for 1. But SpaceStation Gaming, they're not interested with a Gold Fairy the same way they were thinking about previously. They're going to take the safer call and steal away the red buff.
And that was all from the pressure that they put on the Scary D over there in the solo lane, Anatoly. They went in on him, and when they saw that mini, they just rotated a bunch of people over to BaRRaCCuDDa to try and gank him there.
There was so much engagements, counter engagements, into the counter of the counter engagement between these two teams. All attention is in this duel lane, and there's just no breathing room for BaRRaCCuDDa. Now 2 levels behind Zapman. Does finish off the Devil Glove still at the same time, so he's able to start stacking that up. So he's not going to be too far behind, at least in the lifesteal category.
But take a look here as JeffHindla gets taken down by Zapman, just going up a little bit too far forward, probably forcing it here with this Gold Fury, and they continue to force it. Only the lone B floating around against 4 members of SpaceStation Gaming, but that's enough for them to not go in on that Gold Fury.
Recognizing that Jeff's ultimate was still on cooldown from that previous engagement just allowed SpaceStation to find that free pick. Dharmic Pillars was used by Jigz trying to lock down Jeff. We didn't really see it on the camera, but I'm assuming his double dash must have been down and his sprint still on cooldown as well. And without the ultimate or the relic, the defensive relic from Jeff, that was an easy, clean pick. Now, he has revived, and it is a very short respawn timer considering it's a level 9 Xing Chen. That's why SpaceStation are not going to just overextend by going for a Gold Fury.
0-7 are the duo lane of Luminosity right now. They're just having a hard time of it here, totally. Not because they're playing poorly, but they've just been the focus of SpaceStation Gaming so far, and so far, it's working out for them as there's still about 3,000 gold out in front of Luminosity, but we haven't seen the lead really grow that much. I feel like we were just saying it was 3,000 a few minutes ago as Supernova comes out on top of Mask, who kind of just shrugs it off.
Mask, well, I'm assuming SpaceStation thought Mask was going to just disengage there, but instead Mask walks forward with that overhead kick. Sometimes the best defense is an offense as well. You know, sometimes they say the opposite way around there, but either way, still SpaceStation feeling very confident to go for plays like that, still trying to catch out Baskin.
That egg is able to help him immune a lot of damage using Changeling to get out of there. Up into the air, though, goes Homiefe, looking to come crashing down. The call is BaRRaCCuDDa committing several ultimates on top of him. Sunbreaker locks him down inside this jungle camp, and we knew you well, Barra. See you later. But with the up-down is Mask, who gets locked in by the wall.
And nowhere to go with that tectonic rift. That's 2 easy kills from SpaceStation Gaming, and with Scary D right here, this certainly should be a Gold Fury.
JeffHindla is still around. Aquarius is still around. Baskin is on his way, taking that long, lonely trek back from base. So I don't know if he'll be able to be a part of this, as already at half health is the Gold Fury. Aquarius is walking up. He actually has the boulder, but they give off the Gold Fury instead. They want to go get the pick. They jump onto him.
They're scared of the boulder there. It has a great steal potential. Aquarius is going to fall before throwing out the big rock, and that's an additional kill for SpaceStation. But Aquarius' death has bought enough time for the rest of his members to make this revive. And with members from SpaceStation backing, maybe LG can go for this Gold Fury.
You know what this says to me, though, Toli? This shows to me that SpaceStation are evolving. They're learning throughout this set. What they do too much last game is that they took contested objectives. This time, they're saying, if we're not going to get this 100%, then we're just going to take the kill. And that's what they did.
Respect the boulder, especially if it's going to bounce off of the walls. There's so many curves and roundabouts around that Gold Fury area.
Yeah.
It's the same idea of like fighting in the jungle against the Hu-Yi that can ricochet so easily against this corridors. Well, same idea behind Aquarius playing the Hercules, really changing their play style, and it's showing very true spades and stars for SpaceStation as they've got a pretty comfortable 3,000 gold lead.
And Homiefe has really, really turned up for him in these last 2 games so far for SpaceStation Gaming. All over the map on this Thor pick, involved in 10 kills so far. Now they're going to go for these oracles and just zone away Mask, who has no hope but to just kind of bunny hop out of there, as they might be looking to start this Gold Fury up one more time, and they do.
They have a Sentry Vision right in front of the Gold Fury, so they can continuously pull this forward. Not only do they have it inside the pit, but a little bit more aggressively towards LG's side. Scary D still going to bully out Aquarius. Not a bad idea here, considering that he has a little bit of physical protection between that height of the mean line and the Gladiator Shield. And anytime you slow out the Hercules, you're just going to get boosted in the movement speed department, maybe out-rotating him.
And Scary D doesn't seem super concerned with Baskin, as once again we see him pulling the Gold Fury from SpaceStation. Actually, the Sunbreaker comes down, so this is going to be the hard commit this time. JeffHindla's here, and that's not to get them to reset and leash it this time. Maybe being a little too cautious, as once again Baskin's forced to turn into Mask and go up into the air, but also up into the air is Homiefe, and where's he looking to crash down?
He doesn't want to commit under that tier 1 tower. Baskin is going to retreat under safety. Mask blinks in. He's actually going to bait out the ultimate from Andinster. A little bit too trigger happy on that Supernova. Is going to walk away. Mask doing a good job.
SpaceStation might be being a little bit too cautious here with these objectives now, Tolly. They've been at this 3 to 4K gold lead for about 10 minutes now, it's felt like, as BaRRaCCuDDa gets stunned out again.
Jigz right around the corner, so Zapman's going to get saved out. This is where BaRRaCCuDDa is in his comfort zone now. This is a level 13 Muzen comp that has good enough space control, just dropping the honey, applying some of the bees here, and he could still take a one-on-one fight against Zap despite that executioner, as long as he hits those in-hands because of that very important disarm mechanic.
I'd be a little bit concerned, though. Don't want to let Aquarius get too far out ahead. He's already done a good job over here in this lane up against ScaryD. Yes, he is a little bit behind, but not too far back. Baskin looked for a little bit of damage over the wall, but really not able to find too much. But Aquarius on this hurt could still be a problem, as one more time, SpaceStation want the Gold Fury.
The call was made that Baskin was on the right side of the map, and that's why SpaceStation are committing towards this Gold Fury. It hasn't been reset. It's actually very low, but now, finally, Jigz is going to get thrown back by JeffHindla. The Suns forcing out the Aegis from BaRRaCCuDDa, and up and down goes Mask.
And Zapman's very low. Haven't used the Aegis, but it's not enough. Baskin cleans that one up, but Andinster immediately returns on him and sends him back to base. Wall shuts down BaRRaCCuDDa for the moment. Beads cleanse him, so he's able to get away one for one, but SpaceStation still healthy.
ScaryD right behind, going to slow out JeffHindla for the moment, doing a lot of damage there. Is going to force out Jeff underneath. Aquarius, though, is still waiting on the back end of things. He still has that ultimate. He's doing a good job creating a presence. He's that denying factor, that annoying denying factor to prevent SpaceStation from getting this Gold Fury that they've been so eager to get.
It's really stalled them out here in this game, totally, not being able to get this Gold Fury. They continuously are pulling it. Luminosity show up, and they either give up maybe one person or no one, and SpaceStation get nothing or very little on it. And that's why I've seen the lead stay about where it is for so long. Luminosity are kind of stalling the game right now.
SpaceStation think that they have the burst damage to really get this Gold Fury, but this level 15 Hui, executioner or not, just doesn't have the pure damage. Simply also because maybe they were relying too much on the Fafnir pick in the previous two games, the way Jigz was playing it with the Ganesha. It's a different sort of boost. You're not getting the attack speed boost that a Fafnir provides, but you're getting a damage boost once he throws out that line ability. Not only that, having the Shogun's Kusari could now maybe allow SpaceStation to melt these objectives.
Either way, SpaceStation do have the strong vision control over there. There's the one lone ward from Luminosity actually in the Gold Fury pit itself, so they got some idea of what's going on, but it's littered with sentries over there on that side. So SpaceStation are committing to this Gold Fury. They want to be able to pick this up. Baskin going stealthy, perhaps looking to find someone over here on this backside, but no one's around.
No, not at all. He's not able to find the right positioning for anybody, and SpaceStation are keen towards the tactics that Baskin is trying to employ here. Having a good amount of vision as well around the map, both teams making sure that neither are going to try to go for this Gold Fury, and it's the ball is in SpaceStation's court.
Yeah.
They're trying to make the play happen. Luminosity are just throwing everything that they can at them to just halt it for maybe an extra 30 seconds, maybe even a minute, maybe allowing Aquarius to make a rotation on the right from the right side of the map to be that boulder denier.
Once again, though, looks like the Gold Fury is being pulled. They haven't really hard committed onto it. Looks like they want to instead try and force the engagement. BaRRaCCuDDa has the Sunbreakers dropped on top of him, uses the Stinger, but to no effect. He gets cleaned up here at the beginning of the fight. Homiefe goes up in an attempt to come crashing down, but Mask gets Andinster in the back.
That's true, and now going into the back line on the left-hand side was Homiefe. ScaryD's in a 1v2. He's going to force out Baskin to use that ultimate. He's going to get the stun up, but the Thorns, ScaryD cannot be peeled. The pull was good, but it just wasn't in time.
ScaryD able to get that kill against Baskin. 1v2, very important. Now it's only 2v1, only dropping Andinster in that engagement. Wall to get the lockdown on the Mask for the moment and try and help Zapman get out of there.
Great play from Jigz and Homiefe, crisscrossing their forms of crowd control between a stun and a silence. No possible way for Mask to lock down that target, and a great pickoff. BaRRaCCuDDa was isolated away from the rest of his team. That Dharmic Pillar was not the bestly placed in the world in terms of locking everyone down, but it was enough to force JeffHindla to go one way, BaRRa to go the other, and as soon as that happened, SpaceStation jumped on that opportunity, did not allow BaRRa any breathing room, and this whole entire game from SpaceStation has been just to pick on BaRRa. He's 0-6.
But they're not going to win the game that way. At least I don't think so here, totally, because they still have not gotten the objective. Yeah, they got BaRRaCCuDDa and they got the 2-for-1, but they're still sitting at about the same lead that they were before that last engagement. Now here at about 20 minutes into the game. So what we've seen so far is, yes, maybe BaRRa's going to fall, but the rest of Luminosity are slowing down SpaceStation just enough.
Here's the thing, though. The way BaRRa plays these games, it's also him communicating. And if you can get him tilted, maybe now he's not going to be communicating as much as he's normally used to. And that's a key component to trying to shut down LG. Get the most prestigious player on his heels.
Well, Gold Fury Part 7, it feels like here. Already down to half health, but again, this time the call's on to JeffHindla. Shell comes out to keep him alive just for the moment. Lord of the Afterlife comes over the top. Homiefe gets credit for that one. Now up into the air as Mask continues to back up. It's Thor, and he dunks down on BaRRaCCuDDa to instantly use the beads and the stinger walls, as well as the Dharmic pillars come out, but Aegis comes out for him too. Mask is now here.
Mask trying to do what he can in a 1v3. BaRRa throws out the bees as well. Scary D is going to dive that tower. He gets one. Zapman gets another in the back line. There's so many dead members from LG. It's a 3 for 2 as Aquarius just takes out Homie.
And Baskin came in as Thor. That was big in that fight, but Aquarius might still be in trouble. Scary D looking to lock him down, driving strike, but Zapman goes up and comes right back down. Scary D gets that one, killing 3 people overall. I think they might even respawn in that time, so really 4 overall. And now SpaceStation can finally come back to the much talked about Gold Fury.
With Jeff responding, that was a 4 for 2 at the end of the day. They have Zapman for the DPS. This Gold Fury will finally go down, the first one of the game.
Hard to believe.
Considering the way the first and second game panned out, yes, both of those Gold Furies, the first ones, was around the 12-minute mark. Now 10-minute difference between second and the first one. These teams are really playing very carefully here. And look at this golden experience difference. 8,000 experience for SpaceStation and over 5,000 gold.
And now SpaceStation finally able to start moving into a point where they have a bigger lead, bigger control over the game. And I think also just mentally getting that Gold Fury, taking it away, that's probably big for them too. Now they can look somewhere else on the map.
A big relief away from their shoulders as SpaceStation can cleanly walk away from their first objective. They know, like, okay, it is possible to get an objective against LG. So now they can take the next step, which is shifting their eyes and attention towards that Fire Giant. With these levels starting to come online, Zapman sitting at level 18. And when the first game is actually BaRRaCCuDDa that hit level 20 first, and he was able to really dominate. This is the difference here, and the important factor between these two teams is who is getting online first. Is it going to be Zapman? Is it going to be BaRRaCCuDDa? And the way SpaceStation shut down BaRRa, it was very easy for Zapman to get off on a roll and eventually finally start doing the damage he really needs to in these late game team fights.
And you can already see SpaceStation starting to shift their focus over here to the solo lane side of the map, where the Portal Demon and Fire Giant are standing tall. Gold Fury off the map for 3.5 minutes after being secured by SpaceStation, so they don't have to worry about that anymore. BaRRaCCuDDa might even get a moment to breathe now as they shift their focus over here, but now they're going to go ahead and start fighting over the Portal Demon.
Now, a lot of wards placed, if you look on the left-hand side of your screen, where LG just can't keep up the pace from SpaceStation. Now, granted, Jeff dropping 19 wards is a big accomplishment here. Mask is actually going to chase down Zapman, forcing that defensive stunt, and Homie's going to go to the sky trying to save his 100.
He lands down on him, but it's just not enough. Actually, Baskin's the one that comes landing in first and helps clean up that kill on the Zapman. Homiefe able to get on out of there, but they recognize Zapman was alone. His Jigz is in trouble.
I thought that was actually Mask trying to peel for his 100, but instead it was Baskin going aggressively. Scary D jumps up and down as Baskin that's in a little bit of trouble, forced to sprint away as Jigz is running away as well. A one clean pick onto Zapman now gives the edge for LG. They were down about 5,000 gold, but they're going to cut this deficit once they get this tier 1 tower. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they go for tier 2 red buff onto BaRRaCCuDDa, and he's going to be swinging like a truck.
Well, Zapman still got another 20 seconds that he's sitting on with that respawn timer. LG recognized he was over on the left-hand side of the map, basically alone, and they pick him off. Now this tier 2 tower on left's gonna fall. So despite SpaceStation having the pressure all game long, the first tier 2 of the game falls in favor of LG, and they're only down 4K gold.
A huge gold swing on the favor of LG to get that 2,000 gold between the tier 1 and tier 2 collectively, now limiting their deficit to less than 4,000, able to still control the pacing, not letting it slip out of control. They know, like we were talking about before, you can never count LG out. No. They know the right angles to approach any situation. Against SpaceStation, they faced all those players before, whether it was LAN or online, in several different events, and they know the tendencies that SpaceStation has, and they're able to really start exploiting some of it.
Well, this time SpaceStation are ready to get that Portal Demon started up, but there's plenty of LG around. JeffHindla, BaRRaCCuDDa are local, but the Portal Demon's very low. They're going to have to get in there quick if they want to slow it down, but they cannot. SpaceStation take away the Portal Demon and got the red circle there on the map.
A little too risky, honestly, for LG to get there. They were about 2.5 members strong to go into that situation. Even if they do steal it, the rest of SpaceStation will probably chase them down anyway. So it's better to just give that one up and then play around that objective. Maybe even surrounding it like the way they're thinking about it. As long as they have the sentry vision control, they know that SpaceStation, whoever walks through it, even if it is a tank, they could displace him with the Hercules driving strike and maybe get that early quick pick.
Well, they have a chance to get this tier 1 tower in mid, and they can go ahead and take it, recognizing that they were going to be spread out for the moment, but looping around is Homiefe and Jigz. They've got JeffHindla locked down for the moment, but actually Homiefe is the one locked down, and he gets taken out.
Let's go ahead and take a listen in on Luminosity thanks to Sennheiser.
Who you going on? I'm going on Thor.
I'm on Ganesha, I'm on Ganesha.
Alright.
Yeah, I'm Ganesha, I'm Ganesha.
Careful,
who you? Yeah, I'm trying. I got double. Yeah, who you? Zapman. Nice job.
Nice job.
Osiris, careful.
Get out.
Osiris,
I have nothing for you guys.
I'm here now. I can blink in.
I need help. I have a shell coming.
Osiris no thorns.
Okay,
yeah, we kill him. Yeah.
You guys are all shelled. You're all shelled. Yeah, combos. That's all I got.
I'm on Osiris.
Stop. He's rooted.
I have a blink still. Nice.
Alright.
Get out.
Nice.
I'm gonna take red. Yeah, for sure.
And that was the 3-for-1 there in favor of Luminosity. And those were the clean and cool comms that we've been expecting for them all set long. And they do have a big team fight there in mid.
Absolutely. Did you see the pulls from Aquarius?
Yes.
Man, this Hercules has just been so successful, no matter who plays it, honestly. The first 2 games from United, the first game from LG, and now the 3rd game of this set here, Aquarius has just been non-stop, relentlessly abusing the positioning from SpaceStation. Some easy, clean picks to start things off, catching out Zapman, making sure he wasn't going to be a factor, as well as Andinster. Well, first pick off was Homiefe, just completely blown out. Without that Thor global pressure and the constant tectonic rifts, not only is that offensively engaging for SpaceStation, but now they have no defensive peels from that angle either.
And that's just how fast that can happen. For a second, it looked like Jigz and Homiefe were collapsing onto Luminosity, but it turned into Luminosity collapsing on them, and they lose him early. But now Luminosity using their advantage to start up the Gold Fury, but just a couple from SpaceStation are here. That's enough to get them to back off. In particular, Homie was up in the sky.
Baiting that ultimate, not a bad idea to reset. Still going to pull it out, though, sitting at about half health with Aquarius and Mask zoning SpaceStation. BaRRaCCuDDa can calmly get this Gold Fury and do it himself, but respecting the fact that Scaredy is right on the corner. Zapman just got deleted. Where did he go?
And now Mask is looking to try and take out Homiefe. Baskin goes up into the air with the Anvil of Dawn and comes crashing down on a Scaredy in the back. Boulder comes through Jigz. They spin around and around they go. JeffHindla gets credit for taking down Jigz as well. That's 2 members that fall for SpaceStation in favor of LG.
Luminosity just now coming online.
Yeah.
They killed Zapman. He didn't have the Aegis available. He used the beats, but it wasn't enough to avoid a lot of the damage. He got absolutely melted, and retreating also was Homiefe there under that tier 2 tower, and just such clean picks onto Jigz there. What a performance from LG. JeffHindla always doing a great job using his ultimate, catching so many members together.
And Totally, what was it that happened? Where did we see this shift where the game started to move in LG's favor? Because for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, it was in SpaceStation's control.
Honestly, I couldn't even begin to tell you. I think the damage from Baskin just started to come online. This late game Morrigan needs to be respected between the stealth and the constant line shots. Not only that, being able to go into the aggressive Masks, Ravana, Homiefe's Thor for the global pressures. He's at the top of the player damage charts.
Yeah.
He's starting to almost fully finish his build with Polynomicon. He's trying to go for now a more defensive option. Going for a Mantle of Discord wouldn't be a bad idea, especially once he baits himself out as a potential Ravana or Thor.
And I also think it's got to come down here totally to how much focus they had in the Gold Fury. For like 10 minutes, they stayed about that same lead. When we looked at the gold chart earlier, it was pretty flat for the most part because they were so focused on getting this objective, and they would get a couple picks, but instead of taking advantage of that time when BaRRaCCuDDa couldn't really fight, instead Luminosity stalled the game out, and now they're to the point where they can contest with Aquarius and Baskin.
And despite shutting down BaRRaCCuDDa so hard whole entire game, you can't shut down both BaRRaCCuDDa and Baskin at the same time. And if you do, you probably get an achievement point somewhere down the road. But also, JeffHindla denies a lot of damage with that Furious Roar. The player damage from Zapman is basically tied of BaRRaCCuDDa, and he was the one that was being the aggressor, and he's the one with the 2-level lead.
For the first time in a long time, Luminosity have the gold lead in this game as they take down the tier 2 and left, middle, and right. Well, they took that tier 2 and left down a long time ago, actually, but the middle and right fall. All 3 Phoenix are open for them to go at as they come back, clean up the portal demon, and they still got 2.5 minutes here on this Fire Giant, or just about, to go look for a little bit more.
Going to be spending that golden hand, taking that portal after the fact, and trying to go for their first Phoenix Siege, not having the most time in the world, and their siege potential is pretty strong, considering Baskin has the luxury also to go either into Andinster, Zapman, or BaRRaCCuDDa's God selection to melt some of these Phoenixes.
And another thing that's happened here for SpaceStation is Homiefe slowed down a little bit in this game. There was a point where he was 5-0-5 totally. So since then, that means he's 1-2-3 on his slash line. So he hasn't been able to have as big of an impact so lately as he wanted. Not going to say he's been playing poorly, but that just shows how much SpaceStation's pressure has slowed down.
And despite having those 2 kills like you were talking about, it's more important sometimes to get the farm, because after those 2 kills, that mid-wave was shared between 4 people.
Yeah.
Mask was actually ahead in experience department compared to Homiefe, because he only shared it with Aquarius in that right side, stealing away blue and speed with just 2 people. He got the more optimal farm. He was able to still make an impact, and that's a small portion of the tail between these 2 teams of like what they get after the fact.
And they're trying to bring up 2 minion waves here, are LG in mid and on the duo lane side, the most important side over here, the furthest one from the Fire Giant that they're trying to take down. That's what LG's going to be looking for, trying to spread out SpaceStation as much as they can here.
It's all about a patient waiting game here. LG at Fire Giant for 45 seconds. Nice pull into the push. It sets up the stun onto Baskin here, forcing out the ultimate from Scary D.
But Aquarius actually responds, and to see how they defended, let's go into the listen-in with Sennheiser with SpaceStation.
Morrigan this.
Shit.
Might be on me.
They might go on you, Jigz.
They caught my 2.
They're on us,
Robin
right?
Blink.
They're on Phoenix.
Robin Blink.
Thor, Morrigan.
I'm ulting.
Thor, watch out.
AMC beats Vegas. AMC beats Vegas.
Yo, kill me,
Morrigan, yeah, Aegis beats.
Still. I'm on Xing 10.
Yeah, I'm hitting Xing too.
I Thor's MC sword. I need help.
Oh shit.
We can kill them.
Yeah, nice science.
Look at Herc.
This is a good fight. Chase.
Morgan's in
Careful,
cell.
careful.
What do you have, CC?
2. Careful. Oh shit.
I got stun Herc.
Baskin comes up big for them in the back of that engagement. Now Zapman's in a lot of trouble here too. Mask gets him cleaned up. What looked like a good fight for SpaceStation has turned on its head here totally.
Baskin just won them the game. Honestly, he went back in with almost no health. He was waiting for that perfect time to hit the multi-stun, the multi-skill shot. He got off 3 people at the same time, and this is why Baskin is always in the discussion for the best player in the world.
Now Scary D's getting pulled back into trouble. The activate comes out. Scary D does manage to take down Baskin at least, so they won't have to worry about that. But BaRRaCCuDDa free casting in the backline is still trouble, pushing them back into danger.
The Dharmic Pillars as well. It's good enough to find Scary D. BaRRaCCuDDa doing the damage that he can as well onto Jigz. That mid Phoenix fell. Left side will certainly go down as well. Despite how low LG are, they're guaranteed that secondary Phoenix. And wow, I just got chills down my spine once I saw Baskin go in there.
But it was 2 parts totally. It wasn't just that epic coming back in with the stealth. Over here between that mid Phoenix and the left side Phoenix, he survives so much commitment. I don't know if you heard in the comments. I'm sure you did.
Oh,
but
yeah.
they said Baskin, and they couldn't get him. He's Aegis out so much, he immune so much. After that hard commit, he was still alive to come back in and stun 3 members, show up with the damage, and turn that fight for Luminosity, who are looking good.
Just baiting out a lot of cooldowns there.
Oh, yeah.
The Suns from Zapman being able to beads from the slow and just barely get into the safety of his teammates. LG play off of each other so well. That's why they're considered sometimes the best North American team in all of Smite.
And now, SpaceStation Gaming thinking for a moment they could try and pull this Fire Giant. It's a play we've seen them try before, but LG were too local. They had to back off of it. And with 2 Phoenixes that are exposed on the left-hand side, they're flashing back to that game you mentioned before. They know they got to defend their base. That's going to free up Luminosity to come back in, establish position, and get 1 more Fire Giant.
Not going to leave their Titan exposed anytime soon. This Fire Giant, not the end of the world if you're on the side of SpaceStation. Sure, you did lose those Phoenixes, but the way these team fights have been panning out, it's still anybody's game here. The only issue is that there's just so many towers for SpaceStation to try to go through. So even if they do successfully defend, there's still more breathing room for LG to hold.
And I'm not saying this game is over totally, but if SpaceStation lose this game, that's a big mental strain. It's a game where they're up for like 20 minutes, and then after giving it back, they had a chance to take it, and Baskin makes a hero play and pulls it back away. Being able to recover from that kind of loss, if they lose, I'm not saying that it's over yet, that's going to be big.
I mean, sometimes BaRRaCCuDDa pops off, and then other games it's Baskin that pops off.
What
it's
do you
so
do?
difficult for a team collectively to put all their eggs in one basket and shut both of these 2 players out. Luckily for LG now, it's their ball in their court, and they're able to really dictate the rest of the pacing here. The Fire Giant around their waist for 3 more minutes. They're going to start shifting their eyes to the right side of the map.
And that is going to be the focus for them. They're trying to push up the minion wave to help them clear out this right side Phoenix. Right now, SpaceStation Gaming are looking to see how they can respond here. Can Andinster get off a big supernova? Can Homiefe stun multiple members? Or Jigz trap multiple in that Dharmic pillars? That's going to be the only hope for them as Luminosity push forward.
SpaceStation Gaming need to hold this. LG need to siege this in. Let's take a listen in with Sennheiser Luminosity as they try to get their last Phoenix.
Back up.
The mid wave's pushing in.
Yeah, can you tank? Can you tank?
Yeah.
I'm behind him. I'm not behind him here.
One Phoenix. Who you mark?
Alright.
Yo,
Phoenix
who's
also.
super low?
I'm on Osiris.
Osiris. You guys just
Phoenix also.
Who is super low? Who is one hit?
Osiris, almost dead.
Careful.
I'm holding him. Yeah.
Careful.
Holding the ult Ganesh. Yep. Ganesh, 1 shot. Big knock.
Baskin comes crashing in once again using that Changeling. Horrific Emblem comes out from Scary D, but it's not enough. Once again, totally. Scary D actually picks up Baskin. LG look clean as they take the last Phoenix, and they look ready to end the game.
It's a 2-for-1, but Mass takes a lot of damage in return. They're not able to find the important kills, which is the damage dealer. Zapman and Andinster living means that there's still hope of killing some of the members from LG. Their mid Phoenix is so important to hold off. Homie stunning out BaRRaCCuDDa. He's actually going to jump in, but he gets stunned out by the mantle.
BaRRaCCuDDa, the middle of Discord, saves his life as Homiefe falls and Andinster falls. Zapman, the only one still remaining. We finally see BaRRaCCuDDa back alive there on the webcam as LG look to go up 2-1 in the set. What a big comeback from the boys in blue.
LG are laughing and smiling. The mantle of Discord pulling out huge for BaRRaCCuDDa. Who says hunters can't go defense items?
No one's going to say it after that. Homiefe goes in to try and clean up Mantle of Discord. Passive stuns him out, saves him. They're able to take it back up. But if I'm on LG, I'm looking for Baskin, and I'm thanking him for that game. That's the reason they're still in this one. That's the reason they're up 2-1 in a set to punch their ticket to HRX.
And that's why they picked him the Morrigan. He has just so many options. He's one of the most versatile players in all of Smite. Going from the solo lane into the mid lane, being able to just challenge so many of these top mid players. Not only has he been like the best solo player in the world for such a long time, but it's now like the best mid player in the world as well. So when you give him a guy like Morrigan, he can go back to his roots in the solo lane, playing Ravana every now and then. He's played the Hui earlier in this set as well. We've known his mechanics to be top tier, and his decision making is just the same exact pace.
And you said it earlier, they put all their eggs in one basket. Well, LG has 2 baskets. 2 baskets, whichever one it is. They got 2. There's no way that you can zoom in on one of them in particular, but we're excited over here. Let's let the desk break it down. Tom, what happened?
Well, they put all their eggs in one basket. This guy just absolutely carried mad hard the way we know he can. And Homiefe came out swinging. Problem was, Baskin did the same damn thing.
He wanted the win. You could tell it was just so much bloodthirst in the eyes of SpaceStation, but they were just unable to close it out. And it's because of Baskin. Baskin was not allowing anything positive to happen for SpaceStation. And for a team's mentality after enduring that sort of loss, that can be a particularly brutal one.
I mean, it's been no secret that Homiefe has been playing extremely well this set. And I have a sneaking suspicion that Baskin has somehow figured out to use Morrigan ult in real life and transform himself into Homiefe. Because the second he started transforming into Thor, he was playing like Homiefe.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, we talk about Baskin being the quickest player out of all the. We saw about a couple of 3, 4, 5 players go ahead and rotate into the mid lane. He was the quickest one to adapt there. Played solo lane, had a huge god pool. He can transform into whatever the hell he wants.
You know what? I memed Baskin for his Thor a little bit earlier today, and I think he might have heard me. And it was very obvious that he knew what he was doing the second that he got that Thor. And even without the Thor, every single one of his transformations just helped out his team play and his team fighting ability so much.
You know what's really funny is that I think with any other player, perhaps that would be just sort of a statement a caster says, oh, I think he heard me and he turned it around. Baskin's the type to actually say I told you so in a semi-final game that brings him to Worlds. That's the type of dude that Baskin is. I mean, you know, you and I were talking off camera about what does Baskin do in ranked?
Oh, he feeds his freaking brains out. That is for sure. There is no contest about it. Baskin has got to be the most feeding ranked player of all time, but ranked is everything aside. That's mostly all about jokes. When it comes to a competitive environment, everybody knows no one plays the same in ranked as they do in competitive. We just like making jokes about it from time to time. But
my point is the mentality is that like he's out there having a good time in ranked, just sort of bringing it. And in competition, you also have to have the winning mentality. Whatever that means. And I think winning mentality means something different for everybody. I want you to touch on this because you got some characters on your team there, Alpha Jackal. Some teams need to be locked in and super serious. Baskin's the dude that's going to laugh his way to the bank, kind of like your guys.
Yeah, it just depends on what you feel more comfortable with. What gets you in the zone and what allows you to play your best. And if you like joking around, if you like having a laugh with your team and that brings out your best side, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, and Baskin absolutely exemplifying that. We see the player camps. We're here at LAN. We see the actual players and, you know, marching down that middle lane, BaRRaCCuDDa and Jeff laughing and having a great time getting their kills, right? But this game didn't always belong to LG. SpaceStation had the lead in the beginning.
And I feel like if you could take the time from 10 minutes to 20 minutes, cut that out, and you wouldn't be anywhere different. Because that first Gold Fury took SpaceStation 10 minutes to take.
Yeah, from 12, they started messing around at like 12 minutes. 22:50, I think, is when they destroyed the actual Gold Fury. But, I mean, BaRRaCCuDDa was 0-7, 0-8 at a point in time. But LG was able to turn it around. I mean, guys, what the hell happened?
It's just the tactical feed coming into play. I mean, these guys talk about it all the time, but in all seriousness, I think that it was really just boiling it all down. Baskin really popped off with the rest of his team, and Luminosity never considered themselves down and out for the count. I think that's one of the things that a lot of people seem to undermine is usually when you see games like that, you're like, oh, there's absolutely no comeback value. There's no comeback potential in Smite. But at a competitive level, these guys know how to take the engagements properly. You don't always just sit on your hands and turtle the entire time, although that is one pretty effective strategy whenever you're falling super far behind. But Luminosity just picked their fights, and they made sure to win them.
Yeah, I mean, the problem here for me was, you know, I was watching this game. This was obviously the very beginning. You see the double kill going for Homiefe, and he gets a double kill there, but he's still kind of behind Mask in experience. And then here's where he really starts to jump ahead. He comes over here to the dual lane and cleans up BaRRaCCuDDa. And then this game just belongs to Homiefe until LG literally took it out of his hands.
Yeah, and you can shut down AMC, but you have to pay attention to the Morrigan as well. Both of them were extremely potent in that mid and late game. He did his job in shutting down BaRRaCCuDDa, but he left Baskin to his own devices, and that was the big problem that game.
You know, it's I kind of looked at this one and I said, all right, Homie's going to win this game for SpaceStation Gaming, and the next game we'll see what happens. The problem is 8-4-8 with a tremendous amount of damage, just not enough to do it. We go into game 4 here. Right? Game point for LG. SpaceStation needs to fight back into it. Homiefe it's interesting. SpaceStation Gaming, known as a team that can have some, if they don't succeed, sometimes they get in their own heads. Homiefe is not that guy. So I think it's really important for Homie to stay the course, pick the assassin, but the team has to help him. How does the team stay on mark?
I think LG have figured out how to deal with this Soul in mid lane. You can pick a pick many times over. You just give the enemy team a much better chance of figuring it out and then playing around it.
Yeah.
as much as he's done work on the Soul, I'd like to see Andinster on something else this game.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I even said it in Game 3.
I would prefer to see Andinster on something, switching it up a little bit as well, just because I do believe that Luminosity have figured out a better way to at least battle against it early on and deal with Andinster in the team fights. There's also been a ton of emphasis onto Andinster, which is why I think that's the main reason why we continuously see him picking Soul, because when you're getting targeted out by a Bacchus flop or by Ratatasker ultimates and the like, it can be really difficult to live, but Soul probably has one of the best survivability factors out of all the mid lane mages, so I can understand that notion. It just would make a little bit more sense for him to maybe take his chances with something else, and considering that it's all on the line here for SpaceStation, I feel like that's what's about to happen.
It reminds me of when Zeros was playing nothing but Sol, Kronos, and Freya back during the spring and summer splits.
Sure.
I can see him playing Kronos this next set and absolutely going off with it.
Here's my problem: is that Andy leads his team in kills per game, and Soul is a character that's going to deal damage over time, right? Sustained DPS, not always the kill getter that we see a lot of these mages in the mid lane with the burst damage become. It's just like I want an assassin in the hands of Homiefe, I want to see one of these mages that Andy can raw snipe, that Andy can Hades stomp, right? I want to see one of these guys on Andy.
Don't let it be Scylla, though. Please, please don't.
What is the anti-Scylla campaign you've got running?
I just feel like every single time we've seen a North American player play Scylla, they've not used their abilities or ultimate correctly. Every single time I've seen them use the I'm a Monster, it's been always, I'm running away with it. When there's a big ultimate target right there, they could hit 4-man I'm a Monster. No, I'm running away. Bye.
I mean, sometimes it happens. Sometimes the positioning isn't always ideal whenever you're being forced into those sort of defensive ultimates. But I think the main thing here that I want to see from SpaceStation, aside from Andinster swapping over to a different mid lane mage, is maybe trying to put a little bit more emphasis onto the solo lane, because we've been seeing a ton of mid lane duo action. We've kind of strayed a little bit far from what we're used to seeing, which is that focal point onto the solo. And I would really prefer that for SpaceStation, simply because I do think that even though Aquarius isn't, he's doing fine in the laning phase, don't get me wrong, but if you can get your warrior ahead and allow ScaryD to continue to be able to make rotations, that'd be super important.
Straight up, I just think that the talent is too lopsided in that solo lane for it to count. I think that SpaceStation Gaming is giving up the solo lane because they know that ScaryD is going to lose to Aquarius, and if they invest in that, they might as well just invest in, I don't know, Andinster or Zapman. Those players tend to have more of a payoff than ScaryD, I think.
You say that, but ScaryD did solo Aquarius that game.
Aquarius did solo ScaryD earlier in the set.
So it's even.
Sure.
It's a 1-for-1 at the moment, but I mean, well, technically not, because LG is leading by a game, but